Yo, what's up, guys? I'm just having some apples in the car, um, and I thought I'd give you a little something that I was thinking about. Something, I don't agree with everything the alt hype says, the alternative hypothesis or whatever. I think he's really well read up on specifically like forensic anthropology and a little bit of genetics. But one thing that he made a video series on, which I found really really good, is the authoritarian view of knowledge, and that sums up a big problem I think with where humanity is going. Um, it's that we outsource our thinking to others, and I know that that's kind of like what society is. It's a bunch of people, billions of people, outsourcing our thinking to other people so we can specialize in one field, so we can have higher productivity. But I think the problem is, and I'm not even knocking the idea of outsourcing your thinking. There are some things I outsource my thinking on, like I'm taking it at faith that like nuclear power plants work the way they say they are. Like I'm not a nuclear physicist, and I don't know jack shit about nuclear physics besides like the very 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 basics. Like if you were to explain it to a toddler, like there's the problem comes when you make it a cultural taboo to not outsource your thinking, which is where we're at. We're at a point where if you aren't outsourcing your thinking, you're seen as like a kook. But the real thing is that your instincts, trusting your instincts, is probably has the same success rate of like making the right decision. Trusting your instincts probably has the same success rate or better than outsourcing your opinion. Because you got to think, human beings are a very complex organism. We have a very complex suite of behaviors and situations that we need to know how to react to. And almost all of your behavior, and this is a heterodox view, because the general view of, is behavior genetic or is behavior hereditary or environmental? It's about 50-50, depending on the behavior. But I think it is a genetic mesh, so it's all genetic at some point. So you have an instinct, an instinctual response to a lot of these problems that human beings are faced with on a daily basis. Even abstract things like, not just like, oh, a jaguar is pouncing at me, what do I do? Things like managing social situations, economy. Orangutans have a basic understanding of economy. You can demonstrate that an orangutan understands the idea of equal trade. Orangutans have an instinct for economy. You don't have to teach an orangutan to do that. And if you do, they learn it pretty quick. They understand when they are getting less than another orangutan. Like if you give an orangutan one grape and give the one in the cage next to him, like 5 grapes, the orangutan's going to get pissed off because he's like, you're shortchanging me 4 grapes, asshole. But all these complex suites of behaviors that human beings have, they are on some level genetic, and you have an instinct for them. And those instincts have been honed for millions and millions and millions of years to not only keep you alive, but to make you reproductively successful, which is really the main success, is can you pass on your genes. And with human beings, so many of these behaviors, these complex behaviors, are tied directly to your ability to pass on your genes, like economy, for example, social, interactions in all their different forms. It's probably not only equally valid to listen to your instincts versus, outsourcing your thinking. You probably have a slightly higher success rate just following your instincts. And, you can say it's become such a taboo to just trust your instincts, which is what people have been trusting their instincts for millions of years, before we were even people. And I think the taboo comes from this idea that science is the arbiter of and the seeker of truth. Well, I'm here to tell you, buddy boy, there's no truth. We don't live in a post-truth age. We were never in a truth age. There is no truth, or at least not one that you can fucking ascertain, not one that you can quantify. The whole philosophical backing of the scientific method are the three basal assumptions, which themselves come from Rene Descartes. The Cartesian thought experiment of the demon. The fucking the brain in a vat. Can you really prove that the world you're experiencing through your phaneron, which is that movie playing right behind your eyes, you seeing things, the different sensory stimuli that you're getting in, you don't, and I'm not coming at this from you're in a simulation, I'm not coming at this from like a Gnostic perspective. I'm just saying we don't have any way to definitively prove that that's real. So there is no truth. And so the whole point of the scientific method is based on this, because even just those three basal assumptions of the world exists, the world around me, I can learn something about it, and that models with predictive validity have greater value than ones without predictive validity. Those are the three basal assumptions you're making when you're engaging in the scientific method. So with science, you're not trying to find the truth, TM. There is no truth, TM, as far as science is concerned. And I'm talking real science, not science TM. And I'm only talking about science because this is like the most clear way to demonstrate this. Science is about finding models with predictive validity. You're trying to find the more predictively valid model. If we found tomorrow, if we were able to somehow prove tomorrow that the reason that gravity works is not because of like mass and gravitational attraction because of the mass, it's because the floor is down. Like if somehow you found an experiment proving that with such a high replication rate that it's like undeniable, like we can't get it to not work, we would have to like completely rewrite science as we know it based on that. But so with science, you should be operating under the assumption that tomorrow you might have to rewrite everything, and that doesn't gel with us because we are animals that like having our cozy little positions, and science is so heavily tied to capital and our livelihoods for some people that we literally cannot conceive of the idea of having to rewrite our entire knowledge base overnight. And that's part of the problem, I think, is that because of that, we just have kind of created a new religion where, and this is nothing new, I'm not saying anything new here, but science TM has become a religion. And I'm not even saying that's necessarily a bad thing. I think it is a bad thing, but it doesn't have to be a bad thing. It's just, we have, it's important to remember that, like, say, Neil deGrasse Tyson, he's an astrophysicist, I think, by trade. He's really a science educator. He's a science educator. He's literally like Mr. Rogers, but for adults. That's really what he is, even though he's a fucking rapist. But you can find these studies that show, like, if you're in a field of science, your knowledge base on, like, especially once you get out of college and you're not studying this regularly, unless something is in your field of expertise and you're working with it on a daily basis. For Neil deGrasse Tyson, it's probably nothing. He probably is working with nothing. I think he's just a science educator now. He's not engaging in experiments, really. But like, okay, let's talk any other astrophysicist. Like, an astrophysicist is not going to have any information worth, they might have their information that they have is proven by at least some studies to be just as good, as the average person's and not any better. Sometimes worse, because maybe they read a book, in the 70s saying one thing, and it's kind of changed since then, what we have found out. So sometimes not only can their opinion on some things be only as good as the average person in the laity, but it's worse. So I would not trust an astrophysicist to tell me about forensic anthropology. I wouldn't trust a mathematician to, I don't know, to opine on neurology with any expertise. I wouldn't trust a cardiologist to tell me about fucking fluid dynamics. Okay, the average person who, the low IQ North FC, trust me instincts, simple as, he has as much info on most things as the experts, just not whatever specific micro niche that they are specialized in. So you're not only are you going to have the same success rate, I think you're probably going to have a higher success rate in terms of trusting your instincts on some things. And I'm going way too long. This is not a quick video, but it never is with me. Long story short, don't outsource your. I'm not going to say don't outsource your thinking, because that's just not feasible. You're outsourcing your thinking right now to me. So, but trust your instincts a little more. Try to at least think about it. Think about trusting your instincts. Give it a try. Works out sometimes. I'm not saying I should go and build a nuclear reactor in my house. Don't do that. That one you might want to leave to the pros. But, if a nuclear engineer wants to talk to you about biology, maybe specifically about virology, or if a astrophysicist turned science educator wants to talk to you about virology, maybe don't listen. Maybe don't treat him like a priest, giving you commandments from on high, because in the olden days the laity were not allowed to criticize the clergy, and it's the same now. Just stop treating them like they're the clergy. It's the taboo of you're an idiot, or you are a wacko if you trust your instincts over listening to the science TM, or listening to the authority on economics, or listening to the authority on, I don't know, fucking law, or listening to the authority on whatever. You don't have to you don't have to naturally trust these people. They don't have any actual reason for you to hold them in such high regard over yourself, because on average, just about as much as they do. They just maybe you're specialized in plumbing, they're specialized in this one specific field, but because they're specialized in that one specific field does not necessarily make them a authority on many things. Now you have some people like myself who we have a bunch of different mishmash shit from everything, but I know probably I know I'm not an expert in anything. I don't know shit. So don't even take me for some authority. Don't take anybody for some authority on knowledge. There is no authority on knowledge, because nobody really knows anything. And I know that sounds wacko, and I'm not coming at it from the universe isn't real. I'm not coming at it from a Gnostic simulation standpoint. I'm not doing that to you. I think the world around us is probably real, but you think it. We don't know it, and we never really will. So nobody really knows anything. Just keep that in mind, and trust your instincts. I'm going to eat my apples and go buy some groceries. Peace out, guys.